Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a chess fan, then generally most accomplishments in the chess world are by several individuals. Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura, Stockfish, and cheaters. But in today's video, I'm going to show you one of the most unbelievable things that I have ever seen in the world of chess. It happened a couple of days ago. It was a tournament known as the Bullet Brawl, where for several hours in a row, for some unknown reason, very good chess players play 1-minute chess on chess.com for hours. At that event, a grandmaster by the name of Nihal Sarin, an Indian young superstar who is very good at speed chess, went undefeated in 56 games. This dude won 50 games in a row against everybody from 1800 to 3300 and 3200. This dude literally won 50 games in a row, and at some point I think it was even 53 wins and 3 draws. That was his streak. This is unfathomable. Along the way, he defeated Hikaru, Daniel Neverdidsky, and several other absolutely ridiculous players who are rated in the top 3, top 5 on chess.com. And that is what I'm going to share with you in this video. I've never seen something like this. How do you win 50 chess games in a row? How is that even possible? I feel like cheaters don't even win 50 chess games in a row. This is sensational. Nihal Sarin is ridiculous. And if you don't know his name, you really should get to know his name because he's unreal. And we're going to start with the big one. We're going to start with the big 3303. Do you know how many? You would literally poop your pants if you were ever paired against the 3300. I would poop mine for fun. Like I wouldn't even. Okay. Anyway, my friends, I'm going to show you some of these games. This is the death lineup. I think this is the highest ever rating group of people that I've ever featured in a recap. This dude beat some monsters. Nihal is also from India. His flag says Tajikistan. I don't know why. Hikaru started with pawn to e4. Nihal played g6. He likes to go for the modern and just various fianchetto setups when he plays bullet. Hikaru does the same. Knight f3, normal stuff. Bishop c4. Hikaru really likes this system where he develops like this and applies pressure. Knight c6. Pawn to c3 from Hikaru, and the development, and both sides castle. Remember, this is bullet chess, but when these guys play bullet, it's not the same as you and me. You and me playing bullet is like, you ever played air hockey at the arcade? The thing, the bam, that is chaos. Bishop g4 from Nihal. That bishop is being put there in order to perish. And what he's going to do now is he's going to lock the center very quickly by playing e5. Hikaru takes the center with d5, pushes this knight back and slides the bishop out of the way so he can play pawn to c4 and take some space. Nihal plays h5. h5 is a very interesting move. It's not a good move according to Stockfish, but he's trying to gain space for the future attack. He'd also like to reroute his knight this way and prepare f5 and bishop h6 in his own right. Hikaru plays c4, knight d7, bishop c2, a5. Can I draw your attention to something? Black has played 13 moves. He's played 13 moves in 6 seconds. Like, this dude has a solid structure against Hikaru, and it's unbelievable how fast he plays. Every move, he didn't even lose a second. Do you understand how fast you have to be to make a move in less than 10 milliseconds? So he improves the position of his bishop, he trades it, and then he moves up the king to cover the dark squares and prepare f5 in the future. The thing is, you can't rush with f5. If you rush with f5, immediately Hikaru will punish you, your knight will be removed from defensive e6, and you're going to lose. So, that's obviously not what Nihal does. He plays a4, controlling the b-pawn, then knight c5, b6, anchoring in his knight. Nihal has played 20 moves in 8 seconds, and he's got an equal position against Hikaru. He's 10 seconds up against Hikaru. This is ridiculous. That pawn on a4 is controlling the queen side, so Nihal can play things like queen b8. He can also play knight c8, knight b6. He can also try to route his knight over here and put his queen over here, and Hikaru's got a bishop stuck behind pawns. Thus far, the speed at which that Nihal is coming out against Hikaru is forcing Hikaru to make a lot of split-second decisions which are inaccurate, which is crazy because Hikaru is probably the best bullet player in the world, especially in 1+0. In 1+1, like in the Speed Chess Championship, it's a slightly different story, but Hikaru is probably the best 1-0 player in the world. He did recently win the Bullet Championship. So, pawn to f4 from Hikaru, we have captures, and now Hikaru goes for it with e5. The longest think that Nihal has taken the entire game, pawn to g5. That move looks like a blunder because first of all, it just loses this pawn. Queen h7 is mate. Queen g5 is almost mate. Nihal stops queen h7 and this in 0.2 seconds. 0.2 seconds he spent on that move. I know that because it says it on chess.com. That's disconnected. The queen guards this, and he gets a little wedge. Hikaru marches forward with e6, trying to remove the defense of this. And Nihal, 1 second response, queen f6, safeguards everything. Hikaru has absolutely no attack. These pawns are under fire now, and these pawns can't move, and this wedge is very far advanced, so it can actually be very useful in the endgame. Now, Hikaru sends the game into an endgame. Nihal has played 27 moves in 15 seconds. He's up 11 seconds on the clock still. To put this type of pace on Hikaru, who is probably the fastest player in the world at 1-0, is unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. Rook b8. He brings the king forward. He puts the rook on b3. He's still up 8 seconds. He's completely paralyzed Hikaru's position. Hikaru can't move a single pawn. Can't move any pawn. He can move g4, I suppose. You can't really take this, but that's just going to create a weakness. So now Hikaru, and remember, Hikaru's down a lot of time, so he has to play very fast. Nihal plays g4 instantly. Chops this down, continues to suffocate. Now, probably with best play, this is a draw by white. But with only one person playing for a win here, it's the guy playing with the black pieces, rook g7. Now, remember, it's bullet. So at this point, you want to maintain that 8 to 10 second advantage, because at some point, white's going to run out of time. Rook e8, rook d1, rook d4, hitting the pawns, rook d2. There he goes. He won a pawn. He's still up 9 seconds. Rook b1, rook b3 back, rook f3, rook b2, dancing, rook g7, king e5. Hikaru can't take the pawn on f4 because if he does, the king sneaks in. And now you're going to lose this pawn. You're going to lose c4 and d5 and a2. Nihal wins both pawns. Nihal still has a 6 to 7 second time advantage. Hikaru resigns. This man just beat 3,300 rated Hikaru, and he made it look effortless. I really, like, it's... And yes, of course, the head-to-head score is in Hikaru's favor. Probably by a lot. But this is ridiculous. I mean, to do this to the best bullet player in the world, yes, I understand. But this man won 50 games in a row. Like, think about that number. 50 games in a row. No draws. That is so stupid. Like, how is that even possible? And it just... He beat this guy, too. Daniel Naroditsky in 1-0 is easily a top 3 player in the world. Magnus, Danya, Hikaru. Like, it's those 3 guys. I mean, Nihal might be tied for 3rd. Nihal plays b3. All right, we have a reverse London from Danya. We have a very non-committal approach by white. He's going to start pushing these pawns forward at some point. Pawn c4, there it is, a3. Nihal playing this type of weird setup where white plays in a very obscure way, but he's able to make a lot of moves very quickly. But here's the thing. Danya makes moves even faster. So Nihal makes all of these moves, and Danya's still up on time. I mean, Danya, they both have played 15 moves of chess in 6 and 7 seconds respectively. It doesn't make any sense. Now, the queen comes out of the center of the board. Danya plays knight d7. Nihal immediately starts advancing forward. He's got pressure on this diagonal. He's got b5 on the way, knight b3, rook c1 is going to be pressure on the b and c files, queen e7. Nihal here sneaks in a capture. That doesn't look like what white wanted. White obviously wanted b5. No. The second he goes here, sneaks in, because if you play rook a5, I get b7. If the base of your pawn chain falls, it's like the base of a house. The whole thing will collapse. Window breaks at the top of a house, you can fix the window because you threw your chess pieces out of it because you got so mad. Danya plays knight c5, defending himself. Immediately gets defended by Nihal, pinning the knight. Danya goes for an endgame, and his logic is, look, these pawns are very tough to protect. I'm going to play knight c5, and I'm going to play rook a5. Nihal immediately takes the open file with his rook. Danya brings the knight. Nihal plays rook b4, rook a5. Danya has proven his point. He's clearly safeguarded the position. Now it's just a matter of, can Nihal apply enough pressure throughout this game to win? d4. Knight a4. Solid. e3. Center is rock solid. Both guys making moves instantly. Rook a1. We bring the rook back to try to put it over here in the future. Rook e8. He's also bringing his rook back. Nihal plays h4. Now, it's bullet, so that's just a hanging pawn. Nihal already mentally pre-programmed the move h4 here because he just did not expect Naroditsky to blunder this. h4 was played in less than 1 second. Rook e8. Still giving up b7, by the way. Still giving up b7. Knight b3. Nihal decides, I don't want to take on b7. I think he just blundered that, though. Again, it's just a blind spot. Rook c1. We got to take the hardest road. Take, and now we play knight c5. That pawn's going to fall. We're giving up that pawn. Knight c4. The base of the pawn chain falls. Nihal does it the hardest way possible. Take. Rook a3. Nihal is up on time against Naroditsky, who is also one of the fastest players in the world. Knight d8. Poking at that. Look how strategic and methodical this is. The only reason that white has any winning chances in this position is because black's pawns. If this pawn was here, it's a dead draw. But because of black's structure, the pawns are more exploitable, and now a very nice idea to completely pry apart the defenses in this position is knight takes c6, taking the pawn anyway, because after rook c6, bishop d5 is just easy. But it's bullet. These guys have to make moves in a second. e4, prying apart the defenses. Bishop takes d5, rook d6 looks nice. Looks like you succeeded. It's a fork. Look at that. He doesn't have to guard the bishop. Because if you take the bishop here and rook h8, rook takes d5, knight e6. For a second, I thought knight f7, king h7, rook h8 is the idea, which would be very nice. That is the idea if this is here with the bishop. If you take the bishop, obviously that doesn't work anymore. So instead, you would go knight e6, king h7, knight f8. It would be discovered attack, and so on. And Naroditsky, unfortunately, succumbs to the pressure where his king is just in a mating net. And now Nihal sneaks in, continues to apply pressure, bleeding the clock of Naroditsky. These pieces are caught in no man's land. The knight is going to have to sneak away somewhere. Check. If here, mate. This dude just beat 2 guys whose average rating is 3280. That's how we're starting this video. He beat 2 guys, average rating 3280. Here's another guy, 3156. I told you, this is the biggest star-studded lineup I have ever seen in my life. How do you even do this? b3 again. Another game where his opponent plays a reverse London. And Nihal was getting it done in many, many ways. By the way, look at the setup. The exact same setup. I'm going to start playing this setup. This setup is ridiculous. Like, how is it so potent? You just put your queen on a1, and then you you just play on the queen side. You try to expand over here, you put a knight on e5 whenever you want, and somehow you're just in completely normal shape. And yes, the position is equal. My friends, look at... It's 57 seconds on the clock for white. 57 seconds. Do you know how many moves have been made? 13. How do you play 13 chess moves in 3 seconds? Can anybody tell me? You can't, because you're in the comments and I'm over here. You're just watching me. Maybe now you'll comment something, but take, and just like the last game against Naroditsky, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. We're just going to go forward. Go here, b4. Take. Nihal has made 18 moves in 5 seconds. How is that even human? Like, who is this man? Now, feeling the pressure, feeling all of this coming, Bortnik plays b5. He tries to stop white from trying to go any more forward. The best thing for white to do here would be to play c5. Because what that move does is it completely seals off the knight from re-entering the game. And if you play knight to c7, trying to get the rook active, I'm just going to go here, You have to play defense. My second knight will arrive on a5 or d4. The position is virtually like not defendable for black. Instead of that, Nihal takes on d5, and he plays knight d4. It goes for the same idea. Just like in the game against Naroditsky, he's going to try to target these pawns. Knight b4, knight c6, take. And the rest of the game is going to be spent trying to win this pawn, trying to sneak to the back rank, and to try to win the 5-on-4 cluster endgame. And Nihal still has not dipped below 50 seconds. He still has not dipped below 50 seconds. He made 25 moves in 10 seconds. I understand that I'm continuing to talk about this, like the amount of moves that he makes every second or every minute. It just doesn't. He puts this pressure on you when this game is moving at this pace. And I understand the evaluation is equal. It's because his opponent is of an equal caliber player, but the pressure is nonstop. This was Nihal's whole idea. Get the pawn on b4. Knight d5, pawn to e4 kicks the knight out, and there it goes. He's just won the pawn. But how's he going to win this endgame? The pawns are on the same side. Like if white had a pawn over there and it was a passer and it would, then I would get it. But how are you going to win this? All right, h3. You know how he's going to win it? Dude is up 20 seconds in a 60-second chess game. His speed and precision is unlike anything I have ever seen, except from guys like Hikaru. The knight goes to c6 because it's looking to get over here. The pawns completely remove these pieces from the game. The knight centralizes, defending, targeting the pawns. The rook goes to a5, and he just plays f4, and these pieces just cannot participate in the game. The second the knight comes to the party, the rook seals off the back rank, and now it's just a matter of time. Nihal plays knight d7, looking for that same checking sequence against Naroditsky, rook a3, king f2, bishop e2, and there it is. He is now up 23 seconds on the clock. How has he made 40 moves this fast? Take. It's a deep endgame, and he's just going to go f5. There is nothing black can do. Or e5, and there is nothing black can do. Pawn takes, knight f8 check, king h6 to defend. This is literally checkmate. So instead of that, we have take. Bortnik sacrificing his bishop. Nihal takes it, which apparently is not the best move. Apparently, he had to go here first, setting up all of those attacks. Instead of that, like a normal human being, he takes the bishop. This is why the creative defensive play by black also allows him to survive for a little bit longer, but he's down 25 seconds. He is down nearly half of the allotted time that you get for the entire game. Knight f6, knight h5, and whether Nihal wins by checkmate or not, he's just going to win this game because it's 30 seconds versus 7. The speed at which he played was unmatched. And you'll notice here, rook a8 is one of these moves. You kind of play rook a8 to hope that your opponent is pre-moving, but it's 29 seconds versus 6. Nihal played 55 moves in 30 seconds. He played the entire opening to get to his type of setup, methodically, slowly transformed the game into this pawn structure, centralized his knight, took like that, immediately picked up this pawn, corralled this pawn, totally restrained these pieces from getting into the game, and as black spent his time trying to untangle, he marched this pawn forward, threatening a fatal blow. By the time black could react, he had milliseconds on the clock, like there was nothing he could do. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And again, I remind you, he played 56 chess games and he didn't lose a single one. He made a few draws against grandmasters in 2900s. He played Speed of Light. Is this person's account public? Andrew Hong. Okay, terrific. I did not know that. Maybe may or may not have known who this is, just from the rumor mill or whatever. But this is Andrew Hong, who's a very strong grandmaster, and 2940. What's his blitz? Doesn't show me. He's like 3,000 blitz. Knight f3, g6, g3. And Nihal did not have to win every game with a slow grind. Sometimes he just went at him. Bishop d7, queen, it's going to happen in a moment. He's trying to play queen c8, bishop d7, and go to the h3 square. So very nice. And we're going to end this video with a game that he played against another 3,200 rated player. Take, queen c8. And he's going to be putting that bishop on h3. And the idea is very simple. He wants to play h5, h4. and get his rook into the game. I play like this sometimes. Not as well as Nihal. He definitely plays better than me, but this is actually one of the recommendations in my G6 Modern course. It's this setup where if white castles in the fianchetto, you try to trade off the light squared bishop as fast as possible. And you can do this in a variety of different ways. So bishop h3, h5, and h4. He doesn't care that he's losing the pawn. He's caring more about opening the file for the rook. So if white just goes like this, then, you know, the rook is going to get in and you're not going to actually lose any pawn. And to give up the pawn is a big deal. Now we have f6. And this game becomes an absolute tactical slugfest. Bishop takes g2. Andrew takes the rook. Now queen h3. So white is winning. However, white's got a hanging knight, white's got a hanging bishop, and white has to play perfectly. So Nihal is threatening at any moment to move and mate, if any of this becomes available. Andrew plays bishop h4. Nihal takes the knight, of course. The queen comes to give a check. King to d7. And now you actually cannot take this. Why can you not take this? Because I just told you that's mate. The king is just simply abandoned. So white can't actually take, which means right now he has to stop the bishop from sliding out, and he does just that. Now, Nihal is in a worse position, of course, because he sacrificed material, and like I said, he was looking for a quick knockout punch in some of these games. He wasn't just going for a slow positional grind. Nihal plays f5. f5 throws a wrench into the position. What is it trying to do? Well, the point is, you can take my bishop, but then I'm going to go here. Now my bishop is defending my pawn, and I'm re-threatening bishop f3. For example, queen h5 can be played. Then I'm bringing my rook. Bishop f3. If you go here, it's bishop f3, take, and it's still mate, and my king is safe. So the ridiculous move, pawn to f5, played in 2 seconds, massively complicates the position. Because that's now suddenly the idea. You could trade queens if you're playing white, but after take, my bishop gets out, and I got news for you. I got a knight and a bishop for the rook. You're not winning. So the best and only move in this position is to find the stockfish idea, g4. And after queen takes, pawn takes, you do get the bishop, and you do have a winning advantage. Andrew doesn't see that. He does this. And now black comes alive. Bishop takes d5 is winning in one move, but Nihal does this like a human. The rook moves, and rather than taking and activating his rook, now Nihal realizes he missed his chance, and that's mate. White now has to play f3. Nihal just brings his rook to defend his king. Look at how powerful the black position is. It is crisscross applesauce all over the position. This bishop just slides back. Now Andrew's like, let's trade queens so I don't get mated. And Nihal doesn't even have to do anything. He doesn't have to take the rook. He threatens the pawn, and now he is threatening to bring the knight around. You cannot take because of this, and the rook is pinned to the king. The knight is going to e5. He takes. The knight is on e5. This pawn cluster looks really good, but it can't move forward. You know what else looks really good? That black has a 16-second time advantage. The speed and accuracy at which Nihal is beating these otherworldly level speed demons is just, it's ridiculous. And now he's just going to slowly survive the game, bleed out the clock, fork his opponent. His opponent is going to march a bunch of pawns forward, but only one guy is going to win the race, because after take, you seal off the bishop from the defense of the rook, and Nihal comfortably wins this game by checkmate, while also being up 24 seconds on the clock and allowing his opponent to make a queen for no reason. Wow. And that is not all. He also won a game against Jospin, and not only did he beat Jose Eduardo Martinez Alcantara, I think is his full name, Jose Eduardo, there we go. Jospin is an incredible blitz and bullet player as well. And this was a crazy game. And not only that, Nihal beat this man 4 times. He beat a 3,200 rated player 4 times out of those 50 games in a row that he won. Nihal went for a modern defense, very similar that he did against Hikaru. He traded, and then he went for e5. Very, very standard. This is one of the best ways to play this opening. And then he likes to trade off this dark squared bishop. He does this, and then he likes to put his king on g7. Like this. Now, Jospin, very clear indication that he doesn't respect Nihal's setup, and he's trying to mate him. How does Nihal handle when a guy tries to checkmate him? Queen g3, pawn c6, And he's going to start building up his own attack. You know who's also got a big attack? Jospum. F4. Look at that. Every single piece. If you, by the way, if you had the patience to make it this far in the video, you're going to witness one of the goofiest games of chess you are ever going to see. Pawn takes. Knight e5. Jospum's attack looking mighty tasty. The knight is about to arrive on e6. There it is. Jospum picks up a rook, and he does have a winning advantage. But black's position is very resilient. And notice, for the first time potentially in this entire game, white is playing as fast as black. They both have 47 seconds on the clock. CB, Jospum blunders. You can't take because of this. But queen e4, trying to hit this and this, but suddenly Nihal comes back. So Jospum blunders, keeps attacking, and we have the following position. Okay? Rook h1, Nihal continues his attack. That stops mate. Queen c4. You want a queen trade? No queen trade. Nihal takes the pawn. Here comes the attack. Nihal takes this pawn. Rook h8. Queen a7. The king goes for a run. The rook is lost, but black has 2 knights and 3 passed pawns. If the queens are traded and the black king is not going to get mated, black is winning. Black's winning because you can't stop 3 passed pawns. And these knights are a great shield from both sides. Queen e4 check, and the black king runs out to f5. To g5. Gets covered by the knights. Here come the pawns. The king runs to f4. Now, for the first time ever in this video, Nihal is down on time, but his knights and his pawns and his queen are creating a massive shield as the king is getting snuck through. Pawn to d4, pawn to d3. I told you those pawns are getting closer and closer. Suddenly, knight c2 check. He has to sacrifice. He goes to pick up the pawn, but now knight e3 and f4. This is ridiculous. The pawn is now stopping white from making it. And king f5, king g5, king g4. And the f pawn is coming down the board as well. This is so absurd. Queen e2 check. Here comes the king. It's going to make it all the way to g3. White has almost no moves. But he takes this. g5. Nihal has 6 seconds versus 9. How is he possibly going to survive this position? Rook c3. Pawn to g4. He loses his queen. But the players get into a scramble here, and Jospum doesn't quite realize how to stop black. Black has too many quick pawns. Check, check. He's panicking. Is it going to be a draw? Oh my goodness, king g1 was saving it. And suddenly, the king escapes with the pawns. With 3 seconds each on the clock. Nihal was down 6 seconds versus 9. The king makes it across the board, and it's game over. Because f1, take, and the pawn makes it. And not only does the pawn make it, the pawn becomes a queen, and Nihal wins this game on time. The position all the way back here was just so absurd. It was the king running out. But this is sometimes the way you have to win in Bullet. And he did it. He survived. He was winning positional games, tactical games. This man won 50 games in a row. Like, some of you haven't even won 50 games. He did it in an hour, in a row. 56 game undefeated streak. I have nothing else to say. Just go, get out of here.